Hey kids, it's Jurassic James from James Explains. We're talking about Ceratosaurus. I am here in the Whiteside Museum of Natural History in Seymour, Texas, and I want to tell you a cool story. One of my heroes in paleontology is Dr. Robert Bakker. Here's why it's important. As a kid, I would watch him on TV. I had my toy dinosaurs. Back then I had very few. In an amphitheater-like setting, and I'd watch him on TV. In 2013, I was so lucky to actually dig with him here in Seymour for the first time. So why is that important? Well, I said, to the great man, what was your favorite dinosaur? Like growing up or just now? And he thought about it and goes, oh, Ceratosaurus, clearly. I said, why Ceratosaurus? And he said, well, I saw my books, thought it was cool, saw it in a museum in New York, that was my guy. And I was like, that's it? You just decided? He goes, yeah, that's it. So this hall is the Dr. Bakker Hall. And the centerpiece is our Ceratosaurus. So we're going to go around here. Now, Ceratosaurus means horned lizard. You're saying, why is it called that when we have like Triceratops and Styracosaurus? Turns out this was the first dinosaur ever found with horns, or at least crest-like structures. This was found before the Ceratops and the horned dinosaurs. So that's hence the name horned lizard. Now, this guy lived in a Morrison Formation, hence the Jurassic period, late Jurassic. So think Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, those guys. That's his environment. And where Allosaurus is like a lion of the Jurassic, this is like a hyena. They're not social like that. We're just saying that this is a smaller predator. Now, what's really special about it, again, is that we have our nose hole here, the nares, the anaorbital fenestra, the sense of smell, the eyes here in the orbit, and then the muscles right here for biting. These little crests here are not strong enough to be used, we think, for fighting or taking on prey, considering most of its prey is bigger than it. But more likely, a very important thing for animals, communication among each other. So we as humans spend a lot of time on our phones, hanging out or interacting that way or messaging. For these guys, they have no iPhone. So their iPhone is, look at this, look at my communication here without saying it. That being said, what's really neat about this guy is we often know that most predatory dinosaurs have 3 clawed fingers. This guy has that too. But on the side here, I'm not sure you can see that, on the side, there's a little nub right there, showing this guy being a more primitive theropod. So again, in late Jurassic, by that point, we have mainly 3-fingered theropods, but this guy actually has a 4th finger showing that lineage. Fun fact, too, the Carnotaurus and his relatives, these guys are connected more than the other predatory dinosaurs. Now, why is Ceratosaurus so important? It's one of the first dinosaurs really known in North America, and if you look right here, you see the picture of the black parts being what they found, and the white parts being projected. Now, people say, well, wait a minute, how do you know this was here when it's not, and what's missing? Again, we found more since then. So the idea is we see that we're seeing the main parts where they first discovered and based the animal on. But I also want to point out my good friend Miriam in the Smithsonian Museum, who actually jacketed a Ceratosaurus. Her lecture was this morning, and she talked about all the processes used to prepare it for like the long-term collection. When paleontologists in the 1800s were digging, they were not thinking about in 50 years, their thought was get it from Wyoming or Colorado to New York or the East Coast, so they would plaster a certain way. But museums now understand that having fossils forever is really important. I mean, we always knew that, but the idea is that you want to preserve it just right. And so here's a young person who grew up in Texas, just like many of you follow me apparently, and she's doing this really cool thing. So I want you to look at, we're going to walk slowly around Ceratosaurus. You're going to appreciate everything about this animal. I always complain on my YouTube channel about the tails being too short. This is what I'm talking about. The toys are made with shorter tails. Here's why it's such a big deal. Now, most of the dinosaurs that we know who are predatory or later in the family tree have like stiffer tails. This guy shows that flexibility there. That's something that we see in these more primitive theropods. And of course, looking at this, the hip structure, you can see the legs go straight down. People often think dinosaurs are like Dimetrodon or crocodiles. Those aren't dinosaurs. Those animals' arms go out to the side or at an angle. Dinosaurs' legs go straight down below them. And with that being said, I'll see you guys later.